Welcome to the overview of Flexera 1 IT Asset Management Enterprise pre-implementation activities. In this video, we will provide new Flexera 1 ITAM customers with an outline of the pre-implementation and implementation activities, as well as the workshops that will be conducted as part of your Flexera 1 ITAM project. This session is a short, practical overview of the work we will conduct with you before and during a Flexera 1 ITAM implementation. Specifically the key pre-implementation activities and the workshops that set you up for a clean deployment and fast time to value. The Flexera 1 ITAM journey begins with a kickoff, followed by planning and design workshops, environment setup, inventory data integration, business data integration, and enablement. This is the agenda for your implementation process. Let's begin with an introduction to Flexera 1 ITAM, setting the foundation for your project. At a high level, Flexera 1 ITAM helps you manage asset lifecycles, maximize license utilization, defend audits, and improve vendor negotiation outcomes. A big differentiator is recognition and normalization, so you can trust the data you're making decisions on and reduce manual effort. This is the why behind the workshops you'll see later. We're aligning your data, processes, and inventory and business data integrations so the platform can produce defensible compliance positions and actionable optimization insights. This architecture diagram is an example of the kind of ecosystem ITAM typically operates in. Inventory sources for client, server, and container inventory. Business systems for contract and purchase information. And CMDB service management tooling for asset lifecycle, ownership, and location details, etc. The key message. ITAM value depends on connecting the right sources, then normalizing and governing the data. So in the project, we focus early on what inventory you trust. Good data in, good data out. What business data defines entitlements, ownership and use of devices, etc., and what integrations are needed to keep it current. This slide provides an operational overview of Flexera 1 ITAM Enterprise, summarizing the essential objects and their relationships and data flow within the solution. Inventory is gathered from clients and servers, etc. The raw software evidence gathered is normalized to represent application installations. Purchases and contracts are entered into ITAM, from which licenses are created. These licenses, configured with appropriate use rights, upgrade and downgrade rights, rights of multiple use, counting logic in virtual environments, etc., are associated with relevant applications to enable automated license consumption. Asset data, enriched with enterprise group information such as locations, corporate structures, or locations, helps ensure only active devices or devices that meet any license contractual restrictions consume the license. The implementation process starts with kickoff workshops, where we align scope, outcomes, stakeholders, and how we'll run the engagement. Kickoff workshops allow Flexera to present the project scope and deliverables. During these sessions, both parties review project budgets, performance targets, and agree on the delivery methodology. Stakeholders and project teams are defined, responsibilities established, and a schedule for subsequent work streams is agreed upon. The statement of work is reviewed. Customers' project objectives and targeted outcomes are discussed, and any known project risks, especially around data availability, access, and resourcing, are discussed. It is also important to consider project team locations, time zones, and escalation methods. After the kickoff workshops, we move into planning and design workshops. This is where we translate customer goals and the statement of work into an executable solution design and delivery plan. Planning and design workshops are split into 3 categories. These sessions are usually run separately in bite-sized agenda topics as detailed in the following slides. Business workshops focuses on contextual setting, existing and proposed ITAM processes, reporting needs, and required business data integrations. Technology and infrastructure workshops discuss the system landscape, technical requirements and integrations, and define the implementation design. In project management and governance workshops, these sessions are tailored to the agreed statement of work deliverables. First, business workshop. Business requirements. We review your objectives, your current ITAM SAM processes, and your contractual and general reporting and data output requirements. The outcome is simple. Flexera documents what success looks like and what processes exist or may need to be defined, and the reporting requirements that must be supported, all of which helps drive further business and technical workshop sessions. Second, key publishers, typically IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, plus any others you flag as priorities. Here we focus on contractual requirements and what that implies for configuration and data. The outcome is shared clarity on your licensing priorities and the inventory requirements and settings implications that feed into the technical workshops. Prep that accelerates these sessions includes reviewing the relevant self-paced training content, bringing copies of documented processes, or being prepared to speak to these, and bringing key contract and entitlement information like a Microsoft license statement and IBM Oracle contracts, plus a list of known contractual reporting requirements and a list of priority licenses for management. I recommend pausing the video on this slide and the upcoming slides to review the details of the agenda and especially the listed prerequisites. As noted, these sessions will partly be tailored to the deliverables defined in the statement of work. The next workshop is Organizational Structures. These comprise corporate structures, cost centers, and locations. We discuss how these structures are used in ITAM and the objects they can be associated with, what your requirements are that may rely on organizational data being populated and maintained, and where that data will come from for import and ongoing sync. The outcome is to have agreed structure requirements and the system of record detailed. A workshop for contracts, purchases, and licenses is also required. In this, we cover the relationships and data flow in ITAM, currency defaults, and purchase ingestion and processing capabilities, and your import needs, both out of the box and any custom requirements. The outcome for this session is an agreement on what data you'll import, how, and from where, and with any customization requirements, and what default currency should be set. Then we cover assets and device role data, how assets relate to inventory devices, what device roles, production, development, test, etc., exist in ITAM, and whether we need mapping from your source data to the ITAM out-of-the-box roles. The workshop outcome, clarity on asset data sources, integrations and mapping requirements, and any concerns with completeness or accuracy and the implications of this on license data in ITAM. Finally, a workshop session to discuss user access, roles, and rights. What access methods to ITAM you need, what user roles are available out of the box, and the role and access requirements we would recommend, and where you may want custom roles and the organizational data requirements for these to work successfully. The outcome of the session is to have documented access requirements so environment setup doesn't stall. On the technical side, we start with a workshop on your system landscape and architecture considerations. In this, we discuss your infrastructure environment, security concerns, and network architecture. The outcome, Flexera has a clear understanding of the environment we're deploying into. Then a system design session to discuss solution architecture, ITAM components, infrastructure requirements, network/security policies, single sign-on access, and beacon requirements. The outcome, an agreed design including SSO access if relevant, network and security policies defined, and beacon architecture requirements noted. For the next technical workshop, we discuss standard integrations, such as out-of-the-box connections like vCenter, Active Directory, SCCM, and similar. In this session, we review data sources, integration options, and prerequisites, and agree which we'll configure as part of the implementation. Then a session on agent integration, discussing the Flexera Inventory Agent and Flexera Kubernetes Inventory Agent, the customer requirements, constraints, and prerequisites. Outcome of the session is agreement on agent inventory requirements and prerequisites. We also have a session to cover AWS and Azure Cloud Inventory connectors, so you understand the connection requirements, and we agree what will be configured. Another session will be to discuss and agree the technical aspects of business data integrations. Depending on the statement of work deliverables or identified requirements from the business workshop sessions, we will discuss organizational data integration, comprising corporate structures, cost centers, and locations, the data sources for these, and integration options. We'll also discuss contracts and purchase data integrations, assets and device role data integrations, including any custom mapping requirements. Any other business data requirements will also be discussed, and the methods to ingest the data into ITAM via spreadsheets or API, etc. The outcome of this session is a technically agreed integration approach that matches the requirements identified in the business workshops. Project management and governance workshops focus on reviewing the project plan, timelines, defined tasks, resource allocation, and risk management. Both the customer and Flexera align on project tasks, escalation points, and risk mitigation strategies. So, delivery stays predictable. Once all planning and design workshops, or at least those currently relevant to the project plan, have been completed and a functional design has been agreed and documented, we can now begin setting up the ITAM environment. At a high level, environment setup includes tenant activation, which can often occur before the workshops have been completed. For many of the remaining bullet points on this slide, separate videos have been created to dive into the considerations and configuration requirements for these topics. The other ITAM environment setup activities are SSO and/or user access. This relates to users' access to the Flexera One platform and ITAM functionality, either via single sign-on integration or usernames and passwords. Beacon installations to gather the Flexera agent inventory and other data as defined in the functional design. Default and currency settings for financial details in ITAM as per discussions in the workshops. Optional staging database for ingested data normalization, if required. Active Directory integration, and to apply agreed and required inventory settings. The next phase involves integrating inventory data, ensuring all relevant sources are connected and configured. Inventory data integration includes deploying the Flexera agent, Flexera Kubernetes agent, connecting with SCCM, Intune, ADDM, vCenter, and integrating AWS and Azure Cloud Inventory connectors. Separate videos have been created to dive into the inventory integration topics noted on the screen here. Business data integration focuses on ensuring all organizational, contract, purchase, and asset data, as discussed and agreed during the design workshops, is properly incorporated into the ITAM solution. Business data integration covers assets and inventory device roles, contracts, purchases, organizational structures, cost centers, corporate structures, entities, and location data, and custom fields, ensuring all required business data is available in ITAM. Similar to the inventory data integration, separate videos have also been created to dive into business adapters and business data integration topics noted on the screen here. Once the design foundations are in place, enablement ensures your team can run ITAM confidently and consistently. Enablement prepares your organization for the administration and the operational use of the Flexera One ITAM solution. Administration enablement covers topics such as Flexera resources, architecture, data flow, access management, user accounts, discovery and inventory, applications and evidence, automation and policies, APIs, reporting, configuration, and governance. Operational enablement sessions include an introduction to ITAM, organizational structures, and their association to ITAM objects, inventory management, hardware asset management, applications and evidence, and unrecognized evidence management, contracts, purchases, licenses, their creation, configuration, and ongoing management, and reporting, both out-of-the-box reports, custom report creation, and report extraction from the UI or via APIs. These topics provide a comprehensive overview of ITAM. The point is not just how to click buttons, it's making sure your team understands the data flow and operational requirements to create and maintain a license position so the platform stays accurate and audit defensible over time, how to find the installation, usage, compliance, and other data you need, and how to build and extract reports that contain this information. Thank you for watching this overview of Flexera One ITAM pre-implementation and implementation activities. We look forward to supporting your successful ITAM journey. As noted, there are many specific videos covering some of the topics mentioned in this session, which I also recommend you watch prior to your Flexera One ITAM implementation.